Good morning. Tuesday. Had game last night. Start out with that because, well, I did that bonus video yesterday about how I thought it might go. Wasn't too far off. Hadn't counted on a couple of ideas though. Well, I think I might just go ahead and go into that this morning. I originally had another topic I wanted to go on to, but no, let's talk about this instead. I gave a character 4 options. Basically, they were wanting to research, as I said yesterday in the video, different types of kind of cross-world law in the Spelljammer world. And I gave them 4 options for groups that they could possibly interact with to find out more information about interstellar law. The first group was the Elven Armada. Now, the Elven Armada are the enforcers of Evermeet. Evermeet is the big kind of ancient elven city that tries to get everybody to get along. Usually they're a great group to go to if you have problems. Unfortunately, in this case, the Elven Armada is looking for the group in connection with a number of crimes. So I understood why he didn't pick that one. The next one was the Arcane, specifically the Arcane Merchant Board. Again, I understand why he didn't choose these, because this wasn't a trade dispute. This was nothing to do with equitable trade terms or money changing hands. This was a criminal matter, so I got why he didn't go to them. I also mentioned the Inevitables, who kind of enforce law wherever they go. But again, they enforce law very militantly. And this character does know that he is actually guilty of some of the things that they're accusing him of, even if he didn't actually mean to be at the time or didn't think about it at the time. So I understand why he didn't go to them. The last group, though, I thought I had given him just about every reason not to go to them as well, which I guess is my downfall. I described to him a group of lawyers, 4 lawyers in fact, who were the premier lawyers of the lower planes. Now, I said this, and I don't think it ever clicked to him what I meant by it. So then when he started saying that he was going to go to them, and I started describing where, he started asking where was their offices, etc. And I explained to him that their office was in the 4th layer of the 9 hells. He still didn't quite seem to twig on. And then when he got there and he was sat across the table from 4 devils, he started explaining his case and then asked them for their advice. I'm still almost a little bit convinced that he thought I might just give him the answer, as if that's what any lawyer would do. No, they sat, they listened to his case, they asked questions, they made notes, and then once he had explained everything, then they asked for their fee. Of course, because that's what devils do. And their fee was, as far as devils go, quite reasonable. They would get him out of the legal troubles that he was having. He would give them either and it was his option in the contract, either an artifact which he had previously had possession of and then had lost. But basically their option was, if you get that back and give it to us, or if you pay us a lot of gold and a vial of your own blood. Either of those prices is fine. And then there were also a couple clauses in there, of course, where, you know, when his soul passed on to the afterlife, they would have an option to bid for it. They would be retained as his permanent legal counsel. If he broke any of the terms of the contract, then his soul would be theirs. If he attempted to seek alternate legal counsel to work against them, his soul would be theirs. You know, standard devil contract stuff. At which point, I thought he might walk away from the table. He really didn't seem keen. But then he did something I did not expect. You see, in a previous session, he was indirectly responsible for the death of another much more powerful arcane than himself. And, well, there's still a bit of question going on with that because of the way that he was killed. He was killed in such a way that his soul has not appeared in the afterlife. I.e., legally, he's not dead, but he's also not alive. Which is kind of an interesting plot point that's kind of chasing him around at the moment. But he offered that person's soul in exchange for the contract. Now, what he probably wasn't aware of is that people have been looking for that. Well, he is aware that people have been looking for that soul. What he probably was not aware of is that this law office would have been one of the places that they would have contacted to go about checking. That means that these devils were already aware of the value of that soul. And of the fact that he's just offered it to them. They're also aware of the fact that no one has been able to find that soul. So, they offered him kind of a double jackpot clause. Basically, if he brings them Tionanzor's soul within the next 25 years, they gave him plenty of time, then all of the clauses relating to his own soul are null and void. However, at the end of 25 years, if he has not yet brought them Tionanzor's soul, then they gain the right to immediately claim his soul and the souls of the 11 people closestly tied to him. Now, I offer this, almost sure he would decline. At which point he immediately picked up a pen and signed. You know, because why wouldn't I have expected him to sign away his soul and the 11 people closest to him? You know, I guess based on some previous actions, maybe I should have seen that coming, but I didn't. Now, the interesting thing about this is that he didn't consult anyone else about this, and at least one of the people that would be deemed close to him, his uncle, is an incredibly powerful player in the cross-sphere politics games. Again, I don't think he realized that the Devils would have done research on who he was before he arrived. Of course they would have. This is the most prestigious law firm in all of the plains. Of course they're going to know who's walking through their door. It goes without saying. They will know everything about you before you arrive for the appointment. It's part of why they have you make an appointment, so they have time to research you. So, yeah. They know exactly the souls that they've bargained for, even if he doesn't realize which ones they are. And they're very happy with this deal, because either they get the soul that everyone is looking for, and they have been offered a huge reward for, or they get something even better. They get the soul of one of the most powerful political players in the game. Now, that's going to prove interesting because, well, he's not going to be happy about deals being made on his behalf, to start with. That's just to start with. But, interestingly enough, that's not all that happened to the game last night. We also had quite a bit of banter between different players regarding plans for the future. The ship is making its way to a new sphere to do some merchant contracts, while the crew is working on some magic items. I think I mentioned that was one of my predictions that we would get done, because they'd mentioned it previously. And we also have a character who is undertaking a possibly deadly ritual to regain his memory, the experiment that I previously mentioned. We actually left that on a cliffhanger because we were 4 hours and 20 minutes into a 4-hour game session, and I knew that we had at least 15 or 20 minutes left on the scene, so we ended up having to leave it on a cliffhanger, and we will pick that up next Monday. Anyway, that's the Tuesday recap. As always, if you like it, like it. If you want to subscribe, you'll see what I put up tomorrow and next day going forward and all that. Check out the links. And until tomorrow, try to have a great day. Bye.